Yeah.
Well, hello to everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We'll give people just a few more minutes to log in. I did put in the chat line there that we are offering 2 additional bonus live sessions next week. So we certainly hope you can join us. Those are going to be offered on Monday and Wednesday at noon, and that's East Coast time, Eastern Standard Time. On Monday, it's going to be a mantra-based grounding meditation. And on Wednesday, it's titled The Revolutionary Art of Happiness. So I would encourage you to join us. If you cannot, they will be recorded and you'll have access to them via the Studio B portal. So if you haven't had an opportunity to go in there and check out everything that we offer, all of the sessions have been recorded and uploaded for you to review. And please take full advantage of it as we work together. Right now, I'm going to hand it over to Sarah Jane. Thank you.
Thanks, Gretchen. I'm just dropping into the chat where I am in the world, and I invite you to do the same as we've been doing. So I'm in New York State in the US, so I'm dropping that in, and I happen to know the name of the territory that the Native peoples had here before their land was unceded but taken. So let me see, I'm in upstate New York in the US, and the Haudenosaunee people stewarded these lands for centuries. So I'm putting that in, and I invite you to do the same. I know we have someone on the call from Nairobi, and let's see what else. We have New Hampshire. So in New Jersey, the Lenape and Algonquin territory, right? Okay, Seville, Spain, Maryland, Nairobi, Atlanta. Great. We are spread out. And it's such a privilege to gather with you, the wonders of technology. But there's a way in which I just want to remind us that we are seated, we're seated physically somewhere. And I like to do that because the meditation we practice is seated in the body. It's very physically based. So thanks for being here. This is our 4th week together for those of you who've been signing on, and you don't need to have been here before to follow along. I figured that today, after a few weeks of looking at some basics, we practiced mindfulness, anchoring in the breath, in the body, in sounds. And we looked at balancing energy using the breath, so not too alert, not too relaxed. And after doing these things, I thought we would spend today with a longer practice together. And after our longer practice, I'd love to hear from you. And also, I want to make sure that we spend a couple times just talking about what a self-led practice is like, so that you feel supported in maintaining this if you don't already have a practice. And also, I want to leave you with 3 in-the-moment practices or mindful moment practices. These are antidotes to use when strong emotions arise. So 3 quick practices you can do on your own that have a little bit of a different flavor from the formal practice of sitting in meditation for a particular amount of time. Great, so we'll begin. We'll jump right into practice. So I invite you to come into a position where you feel comfortable. You can turn your video off if you'd like. Now you can lie back, as you've probably heard me say if you've been here before. And I actually recommend lying down if there's some discomfort in the body, or if you feel as though the body or the mind has been overactive. You could just lie right down. On the other hand, if you're feeling lethargic or sleepy, maybe sit up to lend a little alertness to the system. I'm going to strike a bowl just to make a sound, a chime once to begin, 3 times to end, and I will guide lightly in between using the techniques that we've been over together. So coming into your position and maybe closing your eyes if that's comfortable, or if not, then just keep your gaze low and soft and steady. We want to have a sense of resting the eyes in some way. Same goes for all of the muscles of the face. You can unfurrow the brow, soften your cheeks and jaw. You might have the mouth just gently, barely closed, with the tip of the tongue behind the teeth, and the top of the tongue dropped away from the top of the mouth. Relax in your shoulders. Just bring your attention there and see if there's any sense of holding that you can easily let go of around the shoulders. If you are sitting up, there can be the sense of the shoulders falling away from the ears. And now let's draw our attention to our hands and soften them. Wherever they are, you don't have to hold them in a particular way. And soften the hands again. Let's bring our attention to all of the areas of the body where we are touching what's below. So these points of contact, our foundation, if you will. Rest your attention in those areas, sensing any pressure, temperature, texture. So we've dropped our mind into our body by looking at these areas one by one, drawing our attention lightly and deliberately to the face, the shoulders, the hands, and our points of contact. Now I invite you to rest your attention wherever the breath is most evident. It might be your belly, your chest, or the tip of the nose. As we rest our attention here, we are noticing, we are paying attention to our inhales and our exhales as the breath arrives in the body and departs. How does it feel? The mind wanders, and we gently bring it back. Back to the breath in the body. We are not thinking about the breath, we are feeling the breath. There might not be words to describe what you feel, and that's fine. We're more interested in the felt sense of being in our body and breathing. This takes a continual recommitment to bring the attention back when the mind has wandered. That is part of the practice. That moment when you realize your mind has been wandering away and you've been doing a lot of thinking, know that that is an important moment. It's a moment of wakefulness, of mindfulness. Unconscious wandering has become conscious. And we bring that energy, that alert, knowing energy from that moment back into our mindfulness of breathing practice. Your mindful attention might settle further if you see how do the beginnings, middles, and ends of each inhale feel. Same for the exhale. Noting the sensation of exhaling, the beginning, middle, and end of the exhale. Maintaining awareness of the breath, you might relax your field of attention and also notice the sensations in the body these sounds, the energy of the mind, any thinking or any emotions that are present. This requires a light touch so as not to become distracted by what you notice. Remember to stay present with the breath, maybe 60% of your attention there. The rest noticing as other aspects of experience rise and fall in currents around this anchor. Both relaxed and alert. We maintain a sense of steadiness as we notice the breath come and go and experience ebb and flow for another minute or two here. In a few moments, you'll hear me strike the bowl 3 times, and you can take a corner of your attention and rest it on that sound until it diminishes completely. Okay, feel free to shift your position and lift your gaze and turn on your camera if that feels comfortable enough. And I would be curious to hear from anyone how meditation was for you right now, today. I was going to say this morning because it's morning here, but I know it's not morning for everyone. So given your time of day, given what's going on for you, how is that? And if you have a practice, how is that in the context of your regular practice? Anything you'd like to say? I'd be really curious to hear. Feel free to come off mute.
I find whenever I meditate at this time, during this time slot, I'm always drinking a very large coffee, which does not lend itself to meditation, I've realized. So I need to stop doing that.
Zachary. Yes, indeed. I try not to have more than 1 cup of coffee before meditation, because meditation gives me the opportunity to really see how things are and balance my energy, right? I didn't mention it in this meditation, but we have that technique of um, emphasizing our inhales when we want to be a little more alert. Um, yeah, natural caffeine. Hmm.
Okay, so I'll just go. I usually do my practice at like 6 a.m. in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. And so I did do it this morning, but I had like a meeting and a half already between 8 and 9. And so I think that incorporating this little 30 minutes was actually really good. I feel better about the rest of my day. I have a few more meetings. And so this definitely helped. I'd never thought about maybe putting a little bit of meditation in the middle of the day to feel better. I just kind of do it at 6 and then maybe at the end of the day when it's all done, but maybe doing it in the middle now would definitely be something I'm thinking about, because it definitely helped revitalize me from the 2 draining meetings I had before this. So this is kind of giving me food for thought.
Yeah. Yeah, like a reset. Yeah, cool. Well, I'm glad that worked out for you that way. Nice. Anyone else?
I just like the guidance versus meditating by myself. I really like the way that it's like you come in at the exact right time. I think I told you this before, but as soon as my mind wanders, you say, bring it back to your breath. And that's literally in the moment when my mind is doing all of this. And so I prefer doing it. And then knowing that there are others here on our team that are doing it as well is very comforting. To find that sense of community and to feel like you're not alone in the midst of all the work. And like Jose says, all the meetings, hectic day is really nice. So I think there's a difference between when I do it alone versus when I do it amongst a group that I work with.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that reflection. Wow, and I can see Jose is emphatically agreeing. Yeah, and community is highly valued in meditation groups. And of course, I've mentioned before, although I'm teaching this in a secular way, mindfulness comes straight out of Buddhism. And in Buddhism, there is this concept called the 3 jewels. And they are sort of the most important places where you go back to, you take refuge. And they are, the first one is our own ability to be awake. Some people call that the Buddha itself, but I would say our potential awakened nature is the first thing you can always take refuge. This is always possible. The second thing is the practice, the teachings about practice, like what we can actually do. And people call that Dharma. So the Buddha and the Dharma. But anyway, wakefulness and the teachings that help us along. And the third thing, and the thing that's considered most important, is community. Yeah, Sangha, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. So wakefulness, teachings, and community. Yeah. Yeah, it really makes a difference, doesn't it? There's some like sense of, well, being in this together. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I'm curious how many people are you all on the same team, or are there folks from different teams on the call? Different teams?
A lot of us are from different teams.
Oh, neat. Yeah. Wow. Well, my hope for you then is to take the idea back to your team of perhaps, taking on some practice. It sounds like maybe during a particular time of day would be useful. Some people will maybe sit quietly for 1 minute at the beginning of a meeting. And the idea there is simply to drop the mind into the body and really have a sense of presence. And as you can imagine, when you go into meetings where they could be crucial meetings where important decisions are being made, or there could be some fraught energy in the room, it's really useful if everybody approaches the time spent together with a sense of presence and an intention to be mindful in their communication. So maybe that's my first of the 3 mini practices I was going to suggest. Maybe You know, at the beginning of a meeting with your group, set the timer for 1 minute. And, you know, it would be useful for the people who don't meditate in your group to explain that you just want everyone to settle, relax, and become present. That would be revolutionary, probably. I'm going to suggest it for all of my meetings. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else?
I think it was my first time, so it's my first practice. I think it was quite relaxing. I was, it kind of sent me to some empty space to concentrate on some of the things that have been flying in my mind. And I think I settled on some key ones that I actually need to follow up. So I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Do I pronounce your name Kizito?
Yes, sure.
Okay, Kizito, thank you for that. Yeah. So I noticed that, was it Zachary? Someone said to you, the first but not the last. Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, it's one of the first benefits is having that moment of relaxation. Oh, it's like relief sometimes. Yeah. So many benefits. I'm glad you had a sense of that. It's awesome. Great. So let's see, time-wise here, we have a couple of minutes. So I just wanted to, in case we don't spend more time together, and you do have an option of 2 practices next week. And those are my colleagues who will be teaching, including Mariah, who's here on the call with us, who will be teaching on Wednesday. So I encourage you to attend those sessions. And I just want to lend a little bit of support to those of you who don't yet have a regular practice, although maybe everybody on this call almost does. But for those of you who don't, a couple of recommendations to get the benefit of practice. You do not have to practice for a long time, but it's really important that you practice consistently. So time of day and place. And another thing I would say is keep those consistent and use a timer. Use a timer so you're not sitting there thinking, oh, I think I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes, and then you sort of end up with this inner dialogue about what time it is and how much time has gone by, and you need to glance at the clock. So maybe that's obvious, but definitely use a timer. And you know, you can focus on what it's like to feel embodied, how it is to be in a body, the sensations that are there. You can focus on the breath, or several times in this group we've talked about anchoring our attention to sound. So those are 3 options for you. And we would call that a formal practice. That's sort of when you're setting aside time and a place, and you are purposefully going to cultivate mindful attention. But as I said, I wanted to leave you with a sense of how you can also use mindfulness in the moment. So we just came up with one of them, right? Which is with a team, just sitting quietly and lending our presence to each other at the beginning of a meeting. But also, what about when strong feelings flare up, right? So like before you hit send on the email that you wrote that you probably shouldn't have, that kind of thing. So I recommend grounding. And one of the best ways to ground when we have a flare up of strong emotion is to feel our feet. So if you're sitting down, you might feel the soles of the feet in your shoes and your socks on the floor, wherever they are. A felt sense, right? That's all it is, a felt sense, feeling them from the inside out. Or you might feel the hands. And if you were here maybe last week, I think that I had you rub your hands together for a while, like maybe a minute, and I had you continue, and your hands got really warm and energetic, right? And then just rest the hands. And those hands will be buzzing with activity, aliveness, a sense of warmth and circulation. And that really is an invitation to notice. You can just sit quietly for 10, 20, 60 seconds, feeling your hands from the inside out. Very grounding. And then proceed with more presence and skill. So that's the idea there. Okay, I'm looking at the time, and our time is up, and I know you have work to get back to, and I My wish for you is that you'll have a day where there's some ease, and when there's not, that you can use mindfulness to promote steadiness. And I have this idea that for the group, I'm going to record a loving kindness meditation, which is a sister practice to mindfulness, where mindfulness really promotes wisdom. Loving kindness is the softer, gentler, warmer side of everything. We don't need to be so strict with ourselves in practice, and we want to cultivate both qualities. So we weren't able to get to that in 4 weeks together, but I want to give you a taste, or maybe you know the practice already. So I'll make sure that's available in the portal for you. Okay. Wow, so nice to be with you. Thank you for your practice in the world. I appreciate it very much. And I'm seeing your thanks and your goodbyes, and I thank you in kind. Thank you so much. Yeah, bye-bye. Take care.